Good morning, friends. Today we will see how a mock presentation for a human rights movie is given in our course. So, the movie which I have chosen for presentation today is Higher Learning, which was released in 1995. Now, this is the theatrical and the DVD poster of the movie. The credits of the movie are Omar Epps is playing the role of Mark Williams. Christy Swanson is playing the role of Kristen Connor. Michael Rapaport as Remy. Ice Cube as Fudge. Jennifer Connelly as Tarin. Tyra Banks as Desha. And there are other characters as well in the movie, especially Lawrence Fishburne, who is playing the role of Professor Morris Phipps. The music of the movie was composed by Stanley Clark. The producer and director was John Singleton, and it was distributed by Columbia Pictures. And the IMDb rating is around 6.5. Now let us go to the brief storyline of the movie. The movie is about three freshmen who have joined the fictional Columbus University, where Professor Phipps teaches political science. Now, all these students, the three students on which this story is more or less concentrated, are basically pursuing engineering, but they have a common course on political science. Now, Malik, who is an person from African descent, is on sports scholarship as he is an athlete and he got the admission on a sports scholarship. Kristen has faced a kind of rape in the campus, and Remy is basically troubled by loud rap music by a lot of the Afro students of his hostel. Now, Malik is unable to concentrate in studies, and it is precisely because that he is in the athletic team and he is working very hard for the sports contest or the event which he has to participate in. Kristen joins feminism because after she faced rape or somewhat kind of rape, so she then joined feminism groups. And Remy finds solace in the gang of neo Nazis. He shaved his head and he belonged a neo-Nazi who thinks that white power and the white supremacy is a very important thing. Now, Malik tries to persuade Professor Phipps for better grades. Now, this is basically why I'm saying this or why I'm taking out this thing is because both of these people are blacks, right? Or both of these people belong to the African community. And Malik, who is a student, thinks that Professor Phipps must be favoring him because he is also a black. Remy shaves his head and being convinced that whites are endangered and he needs reward. Now, this is where the racism and the cultural identities start coming in. Kristen turns lesbian first and then bisexual. Now, Kristen, since she has faced some kind of rape in the campus, so later on she turns first lesbian and then bisexual. And ethnic and cultural identities take the center stage because there are a lot of cultural and ethnic problems which starts in that university. Now, racial insults or slurs heightens in the campus after a fight between Malik and Remy. Kristen organizes a peace rally for that. Remy opens fires in the gathering, killing two people, including Desha. And Desha was the girlfriend of Malik and was also a good friend of Remy. Malik chokes Remy in vengeance, but campus guards overpower him. And what happens at the end is that Remy apologizes, shoots himself, commits suicide. Later, Malik is set free and discusses his future with Professor Phipps. Malik and Kristen interacts for the first time. Kristen believes that she is guilty for all these, and the movie finishes with the caption "Unlearn." So it's an amazing movie, and I'm not very much interested in telling you the whole of the plot and everything of the movie and so on. But it's a good movie to watch, and especially from a human rights perspective, it's an amazing movie. Now let us move towards the human rights issues which are discussed or which are shown in this movie. The first thing is that financial instability or poverty is a basic human rights issue and a violation. And anybody who is facing this faces a lot of problem. Then there are instances of campus rape and nobody goes to report it because they think that it's very normal, or they think that it's just sex, it's not rape, right? And sometimes people do not have sex, but still they feel victimized that they have been raped. So those things also happen. Then Afrocentric militancy is still a part of some types of US educational institutions. This is also something which has been portrayed in this movie. Ragging is, uh, uh, irrespective of that it has been banned in most of the cases in this world, still goes on, is a air of favoritism in every part of this world, and people think that they should be treated in a favorite way. Then racism exists uh, everywhere, at places especially where there are people who are from two different races and so on, and that can be seen very clearly in a lot of treatments in the movie. There is a notion of white supremacy also in the United States as well as in the movie as it has been shown, because a lot of people think that the white race is a supreme race. And the movie also showed lesbianism, and it's not a human rights issue as such, but it was a human rights issue at that point of time, because people do not still accept lesbian or gay encounters or behavior as normal. Now, let us come to the relevant articles of this movie. So, if you see this movie, the UTHR articles which you can see being violated in this movie. First one, Article 1, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, but the treatment was not something which was equal in this movie. Second, everyone is entitled to rights and freedoms set forth in the Declaration without the distinction of any kind of race, color, or sex, language. But again, it can be seen in this movie that people are treated in terms of their races and so on. Article 3, everyone has the right to life, but you can see that the right to life has been endangered because of certain activities. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence. But right to privacy was not there, or as shown this morning. And it is the responsibility of the college administration to look into these matters. Then everyone has the right to education. And why I'm bringing this thing up, because people who face problems with education are not having the means to access education. And this I will bring a little bit more in the next slides or so. In When we used to have the presentations, when we used to have these offline presentations, we used to also have an extraordinary scene slide. That means students will cut a scene from the movie and then they will show it. But right now you can leave that part because it may have a little bit of problems when you are presenting through online. Now, let us come to the conclusions. This is the most important part of the presentation and most important part of any kind of understanding. First thing, non-academic funding pronounces fiasco. Now, why I'm saying this? Because people who are on sports scholarship, people who are on other kinds of scholarship apart from academics, they have to do a lot of job because of that, because they have earned it. They have earned a position in an academic an academic or an educational institution precisely because of that. And because of that, they have to work. They have to work on those lines. And since they have to work on those lines, it is very difficult for them to concentrate on studies. Second, cultural differences cause alienation. Many times we feel that we belong to a different culture and therefore we become prey to, say, cultural groups of the community, and then we alienate ourselves from the other groups. So this is also a problem which we face. Third, rape victims turns into non-conformist. Now this is happening invariably. Any person who has been victimized, especially with or any person who has been a rape victim, or on whom a rape or kind of sexual activity has been say imposed, usually turn as non-conformist. They do not stay back as normal human beings, so they do not stay back as conformist of the society. Then favoritism is found among minorities. This is also true because most of the people who are from minority communities, especially uh, in a place, like suppose there can be uh, college campus where blacks are in minority in this movie, as it is shown, and they think that we need to favor each other in order to sustain. Then feminism is a clamor of the elites. Just imagine people who are still working for their bread and butter, who are still busy earning their livelihood. They do not think of all these concepts like feminism. They do not think of all these concepts like equality and so on, right? They are still busy just earning their bread and butter. But once those things are satisfied, then people end up with a higher range of understanding those like for the elites, or those are certain things which are for the elites. Then apartheid is eradicated, whereas racism persists. We know that apartheid or any kind of segregation between individuals based on color and so on has been completely abolished in this world, or at least on papers it has been abolished. And definitely it has been abolished because all the governments have taken a stand on that. But then racism is there in the heads of the people, and that has not yet left people's mind, and people practice racism everywhere in this world, and they have hatred towards the darker skin. Then laziness rather than race or culture is the cause of backwardness. This is another important line which Professor Phipps has said to Malik when he came for favoritism to Professor. So this is the line which was said by Professor Phipps to Malik when Malik came to Professor Phipps approaching for more marks and this and that. And Professor Phipps first told him that I cannot raise your marks or give you more marks because you are also a black like me. But he also taught him a very nice lesson in his life, and that is that it is precisely because of laziness and the demand for favoritism that we are backward in the society. And the last and not the least learning which we can take from this movie is that equality is actually not a virtue. It can be special treatment, which is a virtue, and we need to specially treat people who are not equals or who are different and so on. But equality or having the understanding of equality everywhere is not actually a virtuous thing. In the next slide, you can put acknowledgements. That means that whom you will like to thank for your presentations and so on. So those things can come on this slide. And the last slide is basically of the bibliography. But you can also add one more slide that is of trivia. And here you can add a few things about the movie or how it was made or what were the problems which was faced, some interesting data. So usually this is the way we give presentations for human rights movie where we think more. We are not interested in the storyline, or we are not interested in telling the whole of the story and make it a spoiler for somebody who has not watched it. We are more interested in what are the human rights things which you have picked up, the human rights issues, the violations, the articles, the relevant articles which has been violated, and definitely the conclusion part of it. So those are the places or parts where we concentrate. Thank you.